Alright, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod. Today we're going to talk about cool, different, effective ways to write a guitar solo. Now we're not talking about improvising, we're talking about writing a guitar solo for a song or for a band that you're in and you need to complete something and record it. Now before we get into it, I will say, as you probably know, I'm a fan of many guitar players, but this style of the way we're going to do it, I really have a creeping suspicion this is the way that Slash from Guns N' Roses really composes a lot of his solos. You can kind of hear it in his melodies, in his phrasing, in his cadences, and I've always used to wonder how it was done. Then I came up with this theory and I tested it many times, and it seems to work rather well, so I'm bringing it to you, and hopefully this is just one new idea to help you write really good melodic and tasty guitar solos. Alright, so let's get down to it. Now, I'm going to play for you the solo that I kind of wrote really quickly. Hopefully I don't screw it up too much, and then we'll talk about it. What I want you to listen for, is it like Slash? No, I don't have the speed of Slash, but listen for the conversation, listen for the melody, listen for the cadences and everything. I'll click on the backing track and we'll see if we can do this. Okay, so that was a quick little version of it. Was it amazing? No, but you can kind of hear, or maybe it was, but you can kind of hear there was a much different approach or energy in the flow of that solo versus a normal like pentatonic riffing solo. Nothing like bad or worse than the other, it's just a different approach. Let's just talk about how I came up with this line. Well, the first thing you have to have is you have to have a chord progression that you like. So I'll tell you the chord progression I have, and if you want to try and do this, you can, but I suggest you write your own chord progression. It is so important you have a chord progression first. I'm telling you that lead guitar players don't bust through the doors of their rehearsal studios and go, dude, I wrote this amazing solo, can I fit it into one of our songs? That's not how it works. It's they have the chord progression, they listen to it nonstop, and they shape it. So you can come up with whatever chord progression you want and loop it. Mine is just F sharp minor, E, D, 3 times if you want to write it down, you can hear in looper, and then it goes to B7, up to D, and ends on an A. I just like the way it sounded. So I wrote that progression. Alright, so what is our first attack on this? Well, I played the loop over and over again. I just listened, okay? So I'm going to play it, and sorry to bore you, but I will play this backing track so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so I had that loop and I was listening to it, and then if you were in the same position, somebody said, okay, write a solo, you might be like, okay, and so you might listen to it and wait for inspirato, but let's just say you don't have a lot of time. Well, a quick and easy way to do it is to open up your computer or get your pen and paper out and start writing some poetry, or write what I call the hidden verse or the lost verse. Now, this is where it really comes into play. What I did is I took I wrote a little poem, and like, it's nothing good or bad, but this had a bittersweet sound to it, so I tried to think of a bittersweet type of poem, and I sat and I wrote something while this was playing in the background. I sat and I kind of just let some emotions fly. Isn't, like, again, you have to be vulnerable when you're teaching on YouTube, so here's a poem, I'm not publishing it, it's just really for the guitar solo, and hear the lyrics of the poem that you'll never hear, okay? It's, and now I see we will never talk again, and all the days in between really meant something. But in the end we go, we know there is nothing that could have saved you, but I really wish there was. Alright? Kind of a little homage to an acquaintance, Neil Casal, who just passed away. Really miss that dude. Anyway, so I wrote this, and I kind of like sat and I listened to the backing track while I was playing, had a loop, and I just wrote a poem. Now, I know that no one's ever going to see these lyrics, okay? This is my lyrical phrase, and I know it's going to disappear, but what we're going to do is we're going to wrap around it, kind of like you're making a chocolate ball where you dip a balloon into the chocolate, then pop the balloon, and you have a hardened chocolate ball. We're going to wrap these words in the melody, and then we're going to make the words disappear, and we should have something that has a lyrical approach to it. It says something, and also you wrote it from here, and so when you play it, you're going to have a little bit more of a feeling to it. So that first line, I heard the backing track going, sorry, I totally screwed up. I played that backing track, and I listened to that first line, which is, and now I see we will never talk again. I kind of just kept on saying it over and over as the music was playing. And now I see we'll never talk again. And I kind of liked what I had. Da-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. I hummed it. I totally hummed it. I didn't think about what key I was in. Nothing. I just hummed it. And so the hard part now starts. You have to find the notes. And you sit and you hum whatever note you can grab onto. I had a hard time getting that beginning, but I definitely heard the ba-dum-ba. So I found it, and I was like, okay. And, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And I really had to hunt for a little bit. And I let my hands just kind of naturally go where I needed to go. And I heard this melody. And that's my first line. And now I see. Okay? And I liked it. And now I see. And then the next line, we will never talk again. And I kind of sat and hummed, and now I see. We'll never talk again. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And I just, am I the best singer in the world? Nope. I'm shaping a guitar solo. So. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I kind of let my hands do the talking there. I just kind of found the notes that worked. I had to sit and hum it. And so I found this line. And I was like, okay, I like it. And if you notice, I took that note here, and I turned to a bend, because anytime you can bend something, it's a little more soulful. So my first line, and now I see we will never talk again. All right, let's just see if you can hear that in the first phrase. All right, so I took a poem and I kind of listened to the backing track, and I let this this kind of melodic cadence come over me, and I really had to hunt and find it. And when you look at the chord progression, I kind of said this very quickly: F sharp, minor, E major to D. That's going to be in the key of A. So we're starting in this F sharp, kind of Aeolian F sharp minor scale. And I'm not concerned with the scale right now. I'm just concerned with finding the notes of what I'm humming and making it solidify. This takes a lot of time, but when you think about your favorite guitar players, they have a lot of time in the studio or before the studio, in their tour buses, at home, to shape their solos. So you do the same thing. So let's get into the next line. And then the next line was, and all the days in between really meant something. So I kind of listened again, and I started humming the solo that I had. And it just started popping out. It just starts popping out when you start taking a poem. And I had the... and I had, and all the days, I heard that, and all the days in between really meant something. And I kept on hearing that over and over again, so I had to figure it out. At first, I had it in the pentatonic, or this little box. But I wanted to kind of take it further on the guitar, so I transfer it. And I liked it. So let's hear those first parts, okay? And I took that poem, and again, there's no lyrics now. Now you hear the lyrics, but when I first played it in the intro of the video, you didn't know, you couldn't hear any lyrics. You just heard something that sounded like, a little more melodic than what I would normally write in an improv setting. So let's see if we can get this. so I heard, again, the poem was speaking through like this melody and arrangement, and I hummed and I hummed and I hummed until I found something I liked, and I had to hunt those notes down on the guitar, all right? Not a lot of theory going on here. We can analyze the theory afterwards. It's going to be in a key. It's going to work. There are going to be chord tones, but this is about how to write a solo in a new, refreshing way. And then the next line was, but in the end we go. And again, like, Slash always, again, I'm writing this in the style of, like, if this was a hidden Guns N' Roses track that didn't make the cut, you know? And, but he always does these like boo-doo-doo-doo-doo, like little things. So I kind of heard that coming, and then the natural cadence I heard was but in the end we go, and I just kind of played this arpeggio, and I hummed it, and I liked it. But in the end we go, and we know there is nothing. And I heard that. Again, I mean, I should have documented when I was sitting here writing it, but I was going, and then we go, and da-da-da, and I was letting that poem, I was letting the words, the natural cadence of the poem shape the song, or the solo. So let me play it again, and so you can hear the first line, the second line, the third line all play together. So that was the first, second, and third line. And so now that last line is that could have saved you, and that was on the B. So nothing, and then the B7 comes in, and I had to get this that could have saved you, and I kept on saying that line over and over again, and I finally hummed that right on top of it. I was lower, boom, 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 boom. I found it, and then it ends with a D, and I had this last line that almost didn't fit, but I really wish there was, and I kind of like, I kind of hummed this, but I really wish there was. Again, you're seeing me do this very shortly, but I sat, and I kind of had to hunt it down. This takes a lot of time. Again, it's going to be a 20-minute video, but this might take 2, 3, 4 hours, 4 days, 5 days, but stick with a poem that you like and get the color. And so I had this last line, that could have saved you, but I really wish there was. And so I took a poem that I wrote, and I wasn't afraid to say, okay, I'm going to wrap it as best I can in this melody while I listen to the backing track. And once I have it down, you forget about those lyrics, throw them away, burn them. Nobody will ever know that you wrote a guitar solo from a poem, but the poem gives you a human voice, a human element, a human cadence, something that someone wants to listen to instead of just letting your fingers do the talking. You don't want to let your fingers write solos all the time because you're going to end up with the same stuff you always do. And so this is an example of a solo. I'll play it one more time in its entirety, try not to screw it up like I normally do, then we'll talk about some highlights. So here we go. Ended it on the A. And I ended it right there on the A. All right, so now, a couple things you might have noticed. I had a little bridge here. Like when you're writing your solo, things start to pop out. You don't need the voice anymore. You know, after this, right there, my ears heard that little bridge into whatever it was, and I wrote it and said, great, perfect. So writing poetry that nobody will ever see is very, very liberating because you don't have to judge yourself on how good your poetry is, but you can wrap your poetry in a shell of melody and then let it melt away, and then you have a guitar solo. If you want to see an example of this, actually, I'll link a video below. Me and Sean made a song a long time ago, and I wrote a solo, and the way I wrote the solo was I listened to the backing track, I wrote a poem, I figured out, from humming it, what it would sound like, and I found the notes out from what I was kind of humming and singing, the whole entire thing, and then I came there and shot the video, and a lot of people were like, wow, that was a great solo, and I'm like, yeah, it pretty much was, because it was a vocal melody that I wrote and then threw away the vocals and made it a guitar solo. So this is a cool, unique, different way to write some guitar solos. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you actually... just got a text. I want you to, try to do this on your own, maybe record it. If you want to join the StichMethod Facebook group, which is StichMethod Jammers on Facebook, and submit, your solo, maybe even show your poem and show what you did so that people can hear that this works. Don't forget to share this video, and please don't forget to subscribe. And that's pretty much it. Go have a great day. I hope you enjoyed something and learned something and blah, blah, blah. Now go write some guitar solos. All right, bye-bye.